I think this group is if they're disciplined and they can learn the system, I think they're going to bring pressure. And I think they could end up being a team that gets a lot out of the talent they have because of some really well-timed pressures. And so I look at this as a positive for Atlanta. I look at it as a positive for New England. I think they're going to be pretty good. I'm excited to see them play. You can feel it, dudes. Football is here.
It's getting close.
Can't wait. Back to you.
The amount that we depend on the dopamine you get from our BetMGM app or whatever app you're using every fall, the way it like tapers off slowly through the spring and the summer, I cannot wait to put these win totals in and to bet the entire first slate. So I can't wait. We got a lot to talk about today. Well, not that much to talk about. Reed, you want to give like I don't know what the word, like a eulogy for Justin Simmons. He's not dead, but he's
I know he's not a Bronco, and he's likely not living in Denver anymore, which is it's a bummer. My friend who's a Falcons fan just texted me. He said, "I will enjoy your tears." 1 year, $8 million. He's going to Atlanta, and now Atlanta everyone should bet on Atlanta to win the NFC South.
So is he one of your all-time favorite Broncos as far as like
easy.
This generation?
Yeah, I mean, he's the easiest guy to root for. Unfortunately, him and Garrett Bowles both came right after the Super Bowl. The revolving door of quarterback for those guys, and they both performed. Justin Simmons is, all pro in this past year. He was I think it was top 30 or 40, NFL top 100. I know that doesn't matter.
The one that left L'Jarius Sneed off.
Yeah, and now he's I'm stoked for him in Atlanta. Hopefully, we've reviewed Michael Penix Jr. on
we like his tape
Tuesday, so maybe he can combine with
Captain Kirk will be back, and I think Atlanta's going to be pretty good, and we'll talk about that in a couple minutes. So anyways, I'll say St. Louis, Missouri. Hello. I'm going back. Last time I went was 2019. It was May. It was the Stanley Cup Finals. My dad grew up big Boston Bruins fan. I'm a huge Blues fan, or huge, relatively speaking. I don't know what's going on until they start playing for real. Okay. But needless to say, I didn't want to miss it. They were up a couple games in the series. I think at that point they needed this win. Boston was coming to town. I'm supposed to get, recognized on the Jumbotron. It's going to be lit, right? They're down 4-0 by the time I get recognized. And when I get recognized, people are very like, about it. They're not like, yeah. They're like, And that totally understood. Didn't expect to get a big reception anyways. But being down 4-0 really put a damper on it. So needless to say, every time I go, including my entire career as a St. Louis Ram, which ended up 39 and like 78, I'm bad luck, is what I decided sitting there watching that hockey game. And had me thinking back to St. Louis Cardinals, 2008, May 29th. Okay. I'm supposed to throw a first pitch out. I'm like the big rookie. They're like, what's this guy got? In front of 41,000 people, and I've told this story a bunch, I nearly drilled a World War II vet in the head, like inches away from hitting that guy, almost hit the home plate umpire. Fucking ball rolled off the backstop all the way to first base. Poor World War II vet. I was thinking about this today. I think about it with my dogs that we had to give away a couple years ago. Like, are they okay? Are they still alive? Probably not. And then today I was kind of like, I wonder how that guy's doing. Well, natural causes probably got him. But that day, he was this close to it being me. And that was something I probably would. I don't know how my career would have gone. Can you imagine? Like, it went fine, but like it didn't go like if I had drilled that guy in the head that day, I don't know.
Will we be here? Probably not.
No, there's no way I have a podcast. If two things happen in my life, if I drill that guy in the head with a baseball and kill him, or if we don't come back from 28-3, there's no way I'm doing this podcast. So that was a crazy day. Almost hit the guy. Real loser, not me. Roy Oswald. He picked up the L that day. It's dropped to 4-5 on the season. But the bottom line is I'm coming back to St. Louis to throw another first pitch out. This is my chance for redemption. I'm going in a couple weeks here. I don't know who they play. Doesn't matter. Tunnel vision right here. I'm only thinking about the strike zone. I am going to Joe Namath guarantee a strike. All right? I'm sitting on the beach. There's a bunch of reporters around. Broadway Chris, what's going to happen when you throw out that first pitch? Man, you're going to be able to hear the fucking leather in the upper deck, the way it's going to pop. And it's going to be, I mean, that catcher's not even going to have to move his wrist. It's going to be unbelievable. Last time I asked the catcher any advice, he said, just don't skip it. And then I sailed it 10 feet over it. So I'm not asking anybody's fucking advice. Catcher's going to introduce himself. I'm not even going to talk to him. I'm just going to get up on that hill and I'm going to throw a fucking seed right down the middle. All right. So that's ready break. That's what's going to happen. I'm super psyched about my opportunity to come back. And just wanted to say hello to St. Louis. It's fitting that I really wanted to talk about the Hawk Tua girl day because she's in the news because she threw out a first pitch. She was at the Mets game. She threw out a first pitch. My boy Jimmy Traina doesn't understand evidently how these things work. And Jimmy's tweet was, I just want to see if I have this clear. Go on a video and reveal your blowjob technique, and then you get to throw out the first pitch at a Mets game. That's what's going on here, right? No, honestly, what's going on here is there's blowjob content doesn't like automatically equal fame. Not all blowjob content works, right?
Of course.
Like it's not like the most famous dick suckers of all time are out there throwing out first pitches and fucking
Nancy Reagan.
Yeah,
never threw a first
that's
pitch.
that's a layup there for you. That's one right over the plate. You know, Superhead. None of these people. Monica Lewinsky has not parlayed that action into. I mean, I don't know if she's rich now.
I think she has like a line of handbags or something.
Obviously, all I'm saying is, let's not take anything away from this girl. She's charismatic. That's the reason she's famous. She's charming. Okay, I could care less what Hawk Tua feels like. Okay, that's not why I want to consume her content. I want to consume her content because she's funny. She's charming. She's one of these people that goes viral, and I want him to stick around for a little bit. Remember Salt Bae? One of him gone immediately. We're like, get the fuck out of here, dude. Okay, Chewbacca lady, childbirth Chewbacca lady. She was fun for a second, but you want her throwing out a first pitch? Do you want a Bad Baby, Cash Me Outside throwing out a first?
Bobby.
Or do you want Ken Bone throwing out a first pitch? You know what I mean? So I'm just saying, Jimmy and others, this gal is not your average. I mean, I seen her on Whitney Cummings' podcast. She was really funny. She was insightful even. I mean, she was dropping jewels on that podcast. And then I saw her on, she was with Bill Maher.
Mm-hmm.
What's he doing booking her? She was great on his podcast too. So I really like the gal. Somebody asked me if we're going to have her on the podcast. I was like, yeah, I would love to if she like volunteered coming on, but I can't bring myself to email her publicist. You know what I mean? That's where I draw the line.
I'll do it.
If you're famous for blowjob related content, I'm not going through the proper channels. You know what I mean? You'll do it though?
Oh, for sure.
I don't know if the people want her on the pod, but I'm just saying I don't mind her content, okay? Here's the big news. The big news is the Falcons are getting better. Falcons fans have high hopes, and that's a dangerous thing in Atlanta if you know like what the psyche of a Falcons fan is all about. It's about like being prepared for the worst to happen. And they let their guard down for a second, honestly. From being in that stadium, 28-3, looking around, seeing the rappers on the Jumbotron, like everybody's cheesing, the whole thing. Every Atlanta celebrity was there. And I could see the Falcons fans, they forgot what it was about being a Falcons fan because they had a fuck ton of hope. Actually, what they had transcended hope. They had confidence. They thought they were going to win that Super Bowl, and they were wrong. And I wasn't aware as a NFL player of, you know, when you play in the NFL, you don't know fan bases, you don't know histories of teams the same way as when you cover it. And I have gotten to know Falcons fans over the last, well, since that game. And you guys do not expect things to work out. And I respect the fuck out of that. But I think this year it might work out. I'm not saying you're going to win the Super Bowl, but I don't think you're going to walk out of this year and be disappointed. Unless Kirk Cousins, isn't healthy, comes back, he's not himself, he pops his other Achilles, something bad happens. I don't know. I think Penix looked good the other day, but am I ready with confidence to say that he could start in an NFL football game and make you guys happy? Probably not. I mean, the receiving core is not as bad as people think, but it's thin. If Drake London gets hurt, it's a thinner group. Kyle Pitts, you're asking him, and I know this for a fact. He's healthier than he was last year. At one point last year, talking to Mac Hollins about it, like he wasn't healthy. So Kyle Pitts, I'm looking for him to have a better year. He's not catching the ball from Ritter. He's not catching the ball from any of these guys. He's catching the ball from a quarterback who's experienced, who can turn his back to the defense, and you've seen it in Washington, in Minneapolis, wherever he's been. Play action's been a part of his game. Finding the tight end's been a part of his game. The middle of the field is a part of his game. So I actually think the offense is going to be pretty good. The concern you have is like, what's going on defense? What's up with the pass rush? And, this is a group that when they drafted Penix, I think people said there are some holes that you could have filled with this very speculative stab at a quarterback who is not going to, if things are working out, play for you for a couple of years. And pass rush was one of them. And I look at it and I say, fast forward to now, where they send a 3 over for Matt Judon, who turned 32 today. We'll talk about that in a second. But they send over a 3 for this guy, and they're in desperation mode because everything I just said, the concerns about the pass rush, the whole thing, they didn't really address it. Part of that might have been making the reach for Penix or what. I don't know what went into it. They drafted Trice from Washington. I guess that's their way of, putting the fire out. He blows his ACL out in the preseason game. So now you were thin before, and it was a speculative thin where it's like, hey, well, Grady's coming off an IR. Ibikite's had a nice run of football late in the season last year, but he's got to take a step, and we need Trice to come in. And supposedly he looked good, to be fair, was working with the ones, the whole thing. But now he's out of the equation. So you were desperate before. Now you're really desperate. And honestly, for a team that, from what it sounds like, took a stab at Montez Sweat, tried to send a 2 over for him, tried to trade up for Latu, have tried a couple desperate measures. This is not the most desperate move they could have made. I mean, sending a 3 up to New England, and I get it. They're going to try to get a deal done. They will get a deal done. But if they don't, they get the 3 back. Sending a 3 up to New England for a guy who has been one of the premier rushers in the league, coming off an injury, buying him low, I think it could be worse. And now you do have 2 guys coming off of injuries, 2 vets who are well-respected, coming off an injury on that front. But you also have some young talent, guys I mentioned, and you have really good play in the secondary now with Justin Simmons arriving. And obviously everybody loves A.J. Terrell. I think they're going to be pretty good. I think they put the fire out, at least. If Judon can come back healthy, if they stay healthy, they put the fire out, And like I said, could have been worse. And I think Sweat's a damn good player. If you ask me right now, would I rather have Sweat or Judon? I'd rather have Sweat. And I would have said the same thing at the end of last season when that trade was made, only because of his age, okay? Rushers, especially a guy like Judon, and part of the reason New England's probably okay, sticking to the mantra of, hey, if you don't like it, leave. If you don't like it here, get out, especially if you're 30-something years old. Like I said, Judon turned 32 today. Situation where they're betting that, hey, if you've got a good year or 2 of football left, it's probably not worth paying you. By the time we're good, you're going to be washed. And that's what they believe, and that's what they've done in the past. And I think, not for nothing, Jerod Mayo doing that right off the bat. This new regime saying, hey, we're gonna be different than the old regime, but we're not gonna do shit like this. That says to me that especially for a young coach, his first player disagreement. I mean, you're talking about a guy who's my age. I mean, like, I can imagine being in a locker room and trying to put out a fire with Matt Judon. You're a guy who's trying to feed his family, who was a better player than me. I'm trying to imagine being in that scenario as a coach, right? Like, this guy's a star right now. And, you know, it's your first opportunity to either convince the guy to stay, appeal to his sensibilities and sticking around, or navigate it this way and say, hey, we don't need you here. We'll ship you off. You're 32. By the time Drake May or Milton or whoever it is has this thing turned around, you might be 34 years old. And we're not betting on you necessarily being better right off this injury. And that to me, you know, like, their willingness to part ways with him, I'm not saying it means that they're not, you know, they're not confident he's going to be the same player, but they know him better than anybody. And sending him down to Atlanta, it looks to me like they're not afraid of the outcome. You know what I mean? Even if he's helpful there, I think, you know, you could look up as a Patriots fan and say, we didn't need him this year. What are we competing for? Why would we pay him? Back to the Falcons for a second. You know, Jimmy Lake is the guy on defense. He's coming over with Raheem. He was in LA with Raheem last year, and they blitzed a lot. They were top 10 in blitz rate. And you think about that, like, they didn't have great corners. There were a lot of young guys in the secondary. You know, that's a lot to ask of them. And they were able to do it. And they did it knowing they had a premier rusher inside. And part of that might be sometimes to free him up because of all the attention he's getting, to demand slide, to do things where you actually get Aaron Donald singled up. You have to dictate that sometimes. But I look at them now and I'm like, okay, the rushers are good, not great. There's some solid players there, but you're banking on some things happening and breaking right. The secondary is pretty good. It's better than the group we had in LA. So I think they're going to turn the heat up a little bit. And I look at things and I say, hey, Nielsen, that's not really what he majored in. He's in Jacksonville now. I think this group is if they're disciplined and they can learn the system, I think they're going to bring pressure. And I think they could end up being a team that gets a lot out of the talent they have because of some really well-timed pressures. And so I look at this as a positive for Atlanta. I look at it as a positive for New England. I think, honestly, Atlanta probably kicked the tires on Hassan Reddick and found out that the tag price was pretty high. And also the fact that Hassan Reddick right now, he was in Tokyo in a robe, and now he's in New York like, I'm not playing. And I also think the timing of it is Joe Douglas says he's not going anywhere. A day later, Atlanta does this. You know, so they had to make a desperate move. There could have been a number of moves that were more desperate, but this one fell into their lap, and they restructured Lindstrom. You know, doing that, I think they freed up $9 million, if I'm reading that correctly. They bring in Simmons, your boy. I think they're going to be pretty good. I'm excited to see him play. I mean, like, the other thing is, guys in their 30s, from the New England standpoint, when these rushers start to break down, and he's a power rusher, like, he's a guy who can win with speed, but he's a physical guy. It becomes harder and harder to come back from these injuries, and they can compound. And, look at the Von Miller thing. It's been a couple injuries in his early 30s, and he hasn't looked exactly the same. He could have a big comeback year this year, but more often than not, it's hard to get back on the horse at that age. And so I kind of get it. But Pats also had interest from Chicago. They had interest from Houston. That tells me Chicago's not real happy with whatever's going on opposite Montez Sweat. The Houston thing, I don't know what you read there, but I read the tea leaves and say if anybody's trying to make a move like this right now, there's a reason. And I also think it's interesting to look at things from as we get into August, who are the teams who are selling? Who are the teams who are buying? Those teams kind of send you signals. They tip their cap on what they think they can be. The Pats are saying, hey, we're not competing this year. And the Falcons are saying, hey, we're pretty good. And I tend to believe them. I really do.
These are the trades I look at when I'm betting win totals. Like,
right.
This screams Patriots under.
Yeah. I think that defense is going to be good enough, even without Judon, that they're competitive. And one more thing for Pats fans. Say this went totally differently. I'm not saying you ever want somebody to get hurt, but here we are. Judon got hurt last year. And not only is it more justifiable to send him away, and you're not feeling the pressure as a new regime of telling a guy who's probably coming off another double-digit season saying, I want my money. That's going to be a tougher sell to just be like, yeah, well, fuck off. Him getting hurt also drove the value of Uche down.
Right.
Josh Uche, I think, had 12 sacks or something like that 2 years ago. Last year, comes back. I think he ends up with 3-4 sacks on the season. And I'm not saying that always tells the whole story. And I'm not saying he won't be really good again without Matt Judon, but obviously Judon, the adjustment, not having that rusher opposite you affects you. I think if Uche had a big year, if Judon was healthy, you'd have two big decisions on your hands, right? Like Uche came back on a 1-year deal. It's like a guy that 2 years ago was a double-digit sack guy who had some dominant performances, and you get him on a 1-year deal. And you get a 3 for Judon. And you can bide your time and do this thing the right way. And Keon White, anytime I talk about the Patriots this year, I'm going to talk about him. I think he's going to have a really good year. And I think, of course, he's a second-year guy to Georgia Tech. Been a big fan of his since they drafted him. The dude is a problem out there. And, now he might become a little bit more of a centerpiece. So interesting, really interesting to see the buyers and the sellers. And for you Falcons fans, you got some hope now. So what you choose to do with that hope is up to you. But I actually think it might work out. Guys, rounding the corner, getting ready to do this Jim Kelly interview or show you this Jim Kelly interview. I just want to say this. There's not a lot of people in sports who I am sympathetic towards more than Jim Kelly. And I don't mean that in like I just a pure pity party kind of way. Like, it's a grown man. He can handle it. But going to the Super Bowl 4 times, the things in my career that I still struggle with, that I look back on with regret, that are so insignificant to everybody else. I just know my window into his existence, or any of those guys on that team, or countless guys in the history of our game who just fell just short of that goal that defines you for some reason. I mean, I have so much respect for the way he's handled it. And he's had a lot of stuff pop up in his life that has reinforced the insignificance, relatively speaking, of sports. So maybe he's better equipped to do that, but I think he's been remarkable. His attitude, his kind of like joy for life. Like, I don't know too many guys who's more excited to get out of bed every day than Jim Kelly. And I've known him a long time, and I'm not saying I'm like a nephew to the guy, but growing up with my dad, I got to know certain guys a little bit better than others, and he was a guy who was always really cool to me wherever I went. And now, full circle, I'm 39, popping up to Buffalo. We're on cloud 9 because we got Josh Allen. Hey, let's see what Jim Kelly's doing. He's like, fuck yeah, I'll meet you at my favorite restaurant. So
I've got my own room in my favorite
got my
restaurant.
own room. We'll get food. We'll kick it. We'll just BS a while. And these are my favorite kind of interviews. Like, they really are. I come in with some notes, but I don't even look at them, because with a guy like Jim, you can go anywhere he wants to go, and it's going to be awesome. So, a couple injuries, since we're talking about, NFL news. Matt Milano, bicep for the year, kills me.
Might be back by playoff time.
Might be back by playoff time. Luckily, if there's a silver lining, and I don't see it this way, but these guys have been through it. Last year they had to play without him, and they'll live in nickel.
Went 8-4 without him last year.
Yeah, went 8-4 without him. So he's a remarkable player. But Sean McDermott's he's a bona fide, damn good defensive coach, and they'll find a way. Like I said, they got one of the best nickels in the league. They're going to be a nickel all the time. 2 backers on the field. The problem becomes if somebody gets dinged, and if they learn anything from last year, people get dinged. What happens there? Little thin. So a lot to adjust to in Buffalo, including not having the signal caller again. We also have the J.J. McCarthy injury. Listen, I thought that guy was dealing out there. After that first pick, the way he came back, the throws he made, the way he was running around. And, you know, also speaks to the fact that, like, sometimes in the NFL, you don't know when you really fuck yourself up until later. And I don't know the exact timeline of when he realized his knee was jacked up, but he played through it. Whatever happened, I'm not sure when it happened, but he definitely looked good in his first preseason game. And there was a lot to be excited about. Now, this sets us up for one thing. And the Vikings have had terrible luck, like awful luck. They've had real tragedy strike. They've had injuries. And this is another one of those fan bases that I put them right up there with the Falcons fans. You know, the only difference is they got nothing to do up there, but it's in Atlanta, at least it's like fucking, it's Atlanta.
Vikings have been suffering a lot longer.
The Vikings, and it's cold and the whole thing. So I feel for Vikings fans with all the bad luck they have, and they certainly have like a ghost chasing them. But, you know, McCarthy gets hurt, and then I'm reading Addison's off on a cart like 10 minutes later, and somebody else gets hurt, and supposedly Addison injury, hopefully not as bad as we feared whenever you hear cart. But the McCarthy thing sucks because he did look good. Now, the reason I look at this and say they'll probably be okay in the end is because I think for JJ, this is an injury that changes his life as a football player. It does give him a year to redshirt. Right. You know, he's going to be healthy enough where if this had happened in December and he hadn't had a snap yet, that sucks. It's going to cut into your offseason, the whole thing. Earlier, the better. And for a rookie, that's why you brought in Sam Darnold, so you could play it however you wanted to play it. Well, now you got one choice, and honestly, I'm behind Sam Darnold. I'm pulling for the guy, and I think they're going to play some good football because, like I said, I've seen this coach make magic happen with guys not as good as far as I can tell, JJ McCarthy or Sam Darnold. He has made things happen in the last calendar year that I think are really remarkable when you look at what happens when the pixie dust wears off Josh Dobbs and, you know, like, or the space dust, like, and Jaron Hall or whoever it is, like Mullins. Week after week. Yeah, Mullins. I think they're going to be fun. So tough. The injuries are tough. I'm going to give out a gold. Worst things I've seen this week. Gold medal. And this is pretty bad, but I'm coming around on the guy, is Mayo Man having his own fragrance. Number 8. Okay?
I mean, he's like diving into it.
He's diving into everything. He's had quite the offseason.
Quite. Yeah.
Okay. He also has his own fragrance, which I don't believe that it really smells like mayonnaise. There's no fucking way. Maybe this is all a joke and there's not really a fragrance and this is just a viral video or this is AI or something. Am I supposed to believe this?
Yeah.
They're really selling this cologne?
That's what it seems like.
Okay. I don't know, man. He's running through a Mayo cloud in the fucking commercial. It's just all, but I respect him for leaning into this. A true psychopath wouldn't be able to lean into the joke. They just wouldn't get it. They'd just be like, mayonnaise is awesome. What do you mean? Put mayonnaise everywhere. This guy actually gets it. And so that's funny. It makes him likable. And I think the Titans are going to be pretty good. We're all considering betting the over on the win total this year. All right. And I'm behind you, Mayo, man, even though this is truly psychotic behavior. You know who needs a clone is Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones.
Daniel Jones. Once he shaves, he doesn't get.
Bro, that was incredible.
That
video was incredible.
He would like plus 100 Riz.
Did you see his video?
Mm-hmm.
He wasn't even trying to Riz. He was just being bearded Daniel Jones. And hey, I know Kay Adams. I'm not saying she has a crush on Daniel Jones. I would be shocked if she did. But bearded Daniel Jones, you got no choice, girl. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's just too cute. He's just too manly and cute. He's just too baritone. He's like fucking if Tom Selleck grew a beard. Seriously, that's what he came across like.
Yeah.
If he walks up to the huddle, he could call 46 counter pass with 0 time left on the clock from the 1 yard line, and everybody would be like, yeah, ready, break. That is the stuff. That's the stuff of legend right there. The transformation between fucking bare-faced Daniel Jones and Daniel Jones with facial hair is insane to me. Good for him. And we say this, when somebody grows a beard, something's going on. right? Like, it's not always a good thing. When somebody makes a big decision with their hair, a la Joe Burrow, I worry about the Bengals this year a little bit because Joe Burrow changed his hair. Whatever, Daniel Jones might be ready to have a nervous breakdown up there, but if that's what it took to grow that beard, it's worth it. Keep that thing. Speaking of Mayo, the last thing, Jerod Mayo this week said that players on his team that fight, not only, like, when I was on the Patriots, Bill used to send people to the locker room, okay? And I told this story to Bill the other day because Bill's on the Inside the NFL set now, and we were talking about fighting. I don't know how this came up. I think it was because Ryan Clark told a great story about Jeremy Shockey fighting, and it was on the rehearsal of the show, so I'm going to tell it right now. But supposedly they got Jeremy Shockey up there to sing as a rookie, and Jeremy Shockey was confronted by one of the veteran linebackers and challenged the veteran linebacker to a fight standing on the cafeteria table mid-performance. And when he got down and they actually started fighting, everybody decided simultaneously that Jeremy Shockey was going to be good at football. Like, so we're all sitting there chopping it up. Bill's talking about his old rules for practice fighting, which was, and I saw this. I saw Alshon and Malcolm Butler get sent to the locker room. I was like, Coach, me and Martellus Bennett were talking about staging a fight so we could get sent to the locker room because we just didn't want to be at practice. So there's a loophole in that line of thinking. Telling people they're going to get fined for fighting, then it starts being a deterrent. Now, here's where Jerod Mayo, Bill Belichick walked so Jerod Mayo could run in this respect, because this, I'll be like Gandhi out there, dude. Like, and I think camp fights are an important part of building a culture on your team. So if I was a coach, I would not punish people for fighting. But Jerod Mayo, just keep it between the lines, guys. You know, like, no Myles Garrett stuff. That sort of thing. I saw that happen the other day at like a practice in college football. They had like CCTV footage of a guy just wailing on guys. It was bad. It's bad. Okay? But keep it in between the lines. You can fight. Jerod Mayo says, if you fight, if you are a veteran, you are going to play the entire preseason game.
Oh, that's brilliant.
And if you are a rookie or a young guy and you fight, you will not play.
At all.
Which also tells you something about the importance of reps in preseason. Right. The value of reps. They are worth their weight in gold. Whether you're a vet, and I've been one where I'm like pissed because they're trying to give me a rest on the wrong day, and I'm like, this is a day where I need the reps, and I'm sitting there in the coach's ear. Or you're a young guy, and you keep running in to take every scout team rep. You know, every rep counts, and every rep has value in preseason. And listen, I just wanted to leave you with this. If you're a wide receiver on one of these 2 or 3 teams, like the second or third team, I'm sending you some strength. I'm sending you some stability. I'm sending you some love. I'm sending you some hope. Not that you're listening to this podcast because you're probably buried in your notes or doing extra, but the thing that hits me every preseason as I watch these games, if one thing hit me this weekend as I watch those games, hits me like a ton of bricks, because I've been there trying to do well in preseason, trying to show what you got. Some of these fucking receivers are out there with the 2s and 3s catching balls from broken jugs machines, like legitimately glitchy jugs machines. The ball placement is all over the place. The 2s and the 3s, I get it. I'm not trying to belittle backup quarterbacks. What I am saying is, when you watch a backup play, don't you appreciate the greatness of a starting quarterback in the NFL right now? And I'm talking about guys that I love and guys that I'm not crazy about. They're all amazing. And when you watch backups play and you watch these poor fucking wide receivers who might be undrafted rookies, or maybe a guy that last year didn't do the most with his opportunities, his reps in camp, and he was a 1, like a Chase Claypool type, you know, go back a couple of years. Or a guy that, you know, whoever you are, if you ended up on the 2s or the 3s, your chances of making a team, it's just compoundingly low, you know, because you're catching the ball from guys who can't put it where you want it. It's going to affect your performance. And you're also being compared to the guys who are catching the ball from the starting quarterback. You know, so if you're on the bubble trying to make that starting group, or you're trying to be the third wide receiver and some other, and you get a little daylight between you and the guy in front of you, he might never leave the field in camp. And I just look at these backup wide receivers, and I just want to send you guys some love because it looks fucking hard being you in camp. I mean, it just hits me every training camp. When I played, maybe I should have stopped by their little corner of the locker room and been like, hey, hang in there, guys. But I never thought about it like that. And I feel for those guys. So send out some love to the reserve receivers who are trying to make a team right now. Say a prayer for them. Reed.
Yo.
Couldn't leave without telling you this. I'm gonna omit somebody's name from this headline. Okay. Blank to play John Madden in David O. Russell directed biopic or biopic.
Yeah.
Whatever the fuck you prefer.
Whatever it is. So I'm guessing who is playing John Madden?
Yeah.
Okay. What's his name? He played Big Dan in the
You'd know
Oh
this.
Brother,
You'd
Where
know
Art
this
Thou?
guy's name.
What's that guy's name? Big Dan and Oh Brother, Where Art Thou?
Honestly, never seen the movie front to back.
Oh, really?
It's a good one.
I
don't
liked
like
it. I mean,
musicals.
obviously it was the Odyssey.
I don't
but
like musicals. Is that
You
what
don't
it
like-
was? It was about the Odyssey?
It's like a play on
Okay.
being the Odyssey just set in the South.
Okay.
That actor's name is
What happens in the Iliad?
John Goodman. The Iliad.
They always leave
That's
out-
like
They always
isn't that the trip back?
I don't know. Yeah, well, it's
Yeah,
not
something
as
like that.
interesting.
I would say John.
You're never going to guess it. Somebody I really like.
And is it going to take like a lot of prosthetic and fat suit or
Well,
no.
What did you just say?
Yeah.
Wow.
No offense to the
Boom! What's his name?
like, does he look like John?
Do you remember the guy that used to be like the heartthrob everybody wanted to have sex with, and he was in like National Treasure?
Nick? Are we talking about
No, I'm talking about
Justin Bartha?
who's the guy that was in Whale?
Whale.
You talk about that?
Brendan.
Yeah, Brendan Fraser.
Yeah, Brendan Fraser.
Brendan Fraser used to be able to fuck everybody.
Yeah, oh yeah. The mummy Brendan Fraser.
He didn't need a prosthetic, right? That was like legit.
Yeah.
So people do think, what's his name? I just can't remember the guy's name right now. He's one of the best actors ever. Played in Batman and
George Clooney, Michael Keaton,
screams at people on set.
Christian Bale.
Christian Bale. He got fat.
Yeah, and he got skinny.
Matthew McConaughey got skinny. All right.
Yeah.
So this guy might need a fat suit, might not.
Okay. So is Brendan Fraser? Or
Nope.
No? Oh, no. Okay.
It's not Brendan Fraser. What I'm trying to tell you is things can be done. People can get bigger.
Yeah.
People can get smaller.
Got it.
The guy in The Machinist. Look what happened to him.
Yep. Give me a age range.
He's got to be in his 50s, if not almost 60s. He's one of my favorite actors.
Favorite actors, 50s, 60s. Can you give me a movie that he's been in?
Sure. It's gonna give it away probably.
Is there a movie or a show that won't give it away? Well,
Truffle.
Truffle?
Movie
No
about
idea.
a pig.
Is he American?
He's American.
He's American.
Lives in Las Vegas, I believe.
Mark Wahlberg?
No.
Oh.
What? He does?
He does now.
Mark
wants to make-
Wahlberg's not playing John Madden.
I
would fucking riot. I would be chucking that chair through a Publix window, dude. I would fucking run out in the street. There's no Publix here. I'd have to settle for CVS, but I would, yeah.
Okay, lives in Las Vegas, 50s, 60s.
He's a big collector.
Nick Cage?
Yep.
Really?
Nicholas
He is one of your
Cage.
favorites. That's wild.
So, David O. Russell.
Yeah.
Movies. Because I hope he doesn't fuck this one up. Amsterdam, Joy, Excellent, American Hustle. That's a great one. Silver Linings. I know this guy, the fighter.
Yeah.
Three Kings. Yes, dude. Three Kings. It's a great movie. This is going to be good. Holy shit. Nicolas Cage.
Hey, you missed Anchorman: The Legend of Ron Burgundy. That's in his. He was an executive producer on that thing. Anyway, yeah, it's going to be sick.
He has to have a killer accent, like a killer imitation.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Yep.
Because they got to be able to sound just like John Madden. I can imagine him doing that.
Yep.
This is going to be his best role yet. Unbelievable, dude. Unbelievable. We have a chance to get him on the show.
Boom.
We have a chance to get him on the show.
Yeah.
Because they're going to want to promote this.
Right.
Shit. They want to promote things. And they know when they think about like football podcasts, there's at least
GOP.
37 to 38 of them that you should consider.
So we have 1 in 37, 38 chance.
Holy shit, dude. We get Nick Cage. I play Madden a lot. Madden,
Easy.
the video game.
Yeah.
You talk to them all the time, right?
Yeah.
Madden's always, they just sent us some.
We're about to, check out Greenlight on Twitter. We're about to give away some Madden codes, so you have a shot. You got to follow along. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram and YouTube to be able to win these codes. But yeah, the close relationship we have with Madden. Let's get a shot at Nick Cage.
Madden, hook us up with Nicolas Cage. And I did get the new game. I love it. I feel like the passing game is a little bit more realistic, where you can layer balls between zones. DBs are not all like Darryl Green. There's not people just catching it on the back of their helmet. It's a little bit easier that way. You got a little bit more control over the players. I tried NCAA. I don't like it as much. I'm not trying to be contrarian. I'm so into Madden. Got to pick one game. Played one NCAA game, beat my son 100-0 with Biff Pogge's Charlotte 49ers. He was the Mizzou Tigers. Scored 42 points in the fourth quarter. It wasn't like I had to let up to score 100. I had to put my fucking foot on the accelerator. It was one of those things where my son, he's like me. He's addictive personality. Like he wants to play the game as much as possible. Every day he asks me if I can play Madden. So he's like, I put in NCAA, he sees the pageantry, he sees like the menu, and I'm like, we're playing it after dinner. He's like, oh my God, I'm so excited. He's like running around. And after dinner, he's like, can we play? I'm like, so the whole thing where if your kid, there's a school of thought that if you catch your kid smoking a cigarette, you're like, oh, you like cigarettes?
Mm-hmm.
Here's a whole pack.
Yep.
Polish the whole pack off. This was my like have the whole pack experience for him. It was like, if you like the game, I'm going to beat you 100-0. And I'm just going to make you hate it. And then you'll never ask me to play it again. So I played one game NCAA. Then I got online. Some guy kicked my ass. I barely understand the playbooks. There's fucking all types of Mickey Mouse plays. Yes, it looks cool as shit, but I got shit to do. I got Madden to play, and it's actually an even better game than
Waylon's going to become an elite gamer in 2035, and they're going to write stories and everything about him. And he'll be like, I played college football with my dad. He beat me 100-0. And ever since that day, I was not going to let up on anyone.
That's going to be his Michael Jordan getting cut from JV story when he's like ninja or something at some point.
Yep. Here's Waylon Long. His dad in 2024 beat him 100-0, and here he is.
It's a great lesson. You shouldn't let your kids win at everything. The world is not going to let them win at everything.
Block that shot into the fourth row.
Yes, my kid is a rich kid. He's going to go to a good school, and he's going to be soft in that respect. But his dad's going to whoop his ass at everything humanly possible until I'm too old to do it. Like, I'm going to be giving him that work on sports fields across the county, basketball courts. I mean, when I have a chance to rub his nose in a little bit, I do it too, because that's what the world does.
If he picks up a sport that you've never played before, maybe Frisbee golf, will you practice on your own to keep up with him?
Oh, absolutely. There's some sports that I'm not going to carry. He's better than me.
Right.
But, like the big four, like the big four. I mean, if he wants to do hockey, I'm not going to do that.
Yeah.
But like basketball, baseball, football, running in a straight line, jumping, things like that. Like definitely combat, hand-to-hand combat. You don't want your son to get so big and strong that, So anyways, I'm actually mostly worried about my daughter who's 98th percentile in size. Because I can't, there's nothing I can do about that.
Yeah.
If she ends up like Kyle, I got no shot. Size doesn't matter.